Lobster Newburg Supreme. What made this luxurious seafood creation the ultimate symbol of elegant American entertaining during the golden age of dinner parties? Picture the opulent dining room of Mrs. Charles Pemberton III in Newport, Rhode Island, 1956, where she served this magnificent dish to visiting dignitaries and left them speechless with its restaurant-quality sophistication. The foundation began with fresh lobster meat, gently sautéed in real butter, then folded into a velvety sauce made with heavy cream, egg yolks, and just enough dry sherry to create that distinctive Newburg flavor that had made the dish famous in New York's finest establishments. Mrs. Pemberton's chef, Henri Dubois, formerly of Delmonico's restaurant, was quoted in Town and Country magazine as saying, "Madame has mastered what many professional kitchens struggle to achieve, the perfect balance of richness and refinement that makes Lobster Newburg a true culinary masterpiece." The magic was in Betty Crocker's simplified technique that demystified this intimidating dish, breaking it down into manageable steps that allowed home cooks to achieve the same results that had previously required professional training. The secret was in the sauce preparation, tempering the egg yolks slowly with the hot cream to create a custard-like consistency without any curdling, then finishing with a splash of brandy that added depth and complexity. Each serving was presented in individual puff pastry shells or over delicate rice pilaf, garnished with a sprinkle of fresh paprika and chopped chives that added both color and a hint of onion flavor. The genius was in the timing, preparing everything just before serving to maintain the silky texture and prevent the delicate sauce from breaking or becoming grainy. The food critic at Bon Appetit declared it the dish that proves American home cooks can rival the greatest restaurant chefs, after tasting it at a charity luncheon where it became the talk of the social season. Today's upscale seafood restaurants charge $55 for Lobster Newburg, but accomplished hostesses could create this luxury for under $8 and serve 6 guests with unmatched elegance. This sophisticated dish connects beautifully with our earlier shrimp and noodle bake, demonstrating how American cooks were elevating seafood into increasingly elegant presentations. The real artistry was in understanding that true luxury comes from perfect technique and the finest ingredients, not from complicated preparations that intimidate rather than inspire. Veal paprikash. How did this Hungarian-inspired creation become the signature dish of America's most sophisticated dinner parties? Enter the elegant kitchen of Mrs. Victor Kovacs in Cleveland's Hungarian district, 1955, where she adapted her grandmother's old-world recipe using Betty Crocker's modern American techniques. "In the old country, we cooked by feel and memory," she explained to the reporter from Ladies' Home Journal, "but Betty's methods helped me create the same flavors with perfect consistency every single time." The magic began with tender veal cutlets, pounded thin and dredged in flour, seasoned with the finest Hungarian paprika, then sautéed until golden in clarified butter that wouldn't burn during the careful browning process. Mrs. Joseph Nagy, president of the Hungarian American Cultural Society, declared, "This dish honors our heritage while embracing our new American home," as she savored the rich sour cream sauce that had been perfected through Betty's test kitchen methodology. The genius was in the layered seasoning, building flavor through each step rather than relying on one overwhelming spice, creating a complex dish that satisfied both nostalgic immigrants and curious American neighbors. The secret ingredient was a splash of white wine vinegar that brightened the rich sauce and balanced the earthiness of the paprika, creating the authentic tang that distinguished real Hungarian cooking from mere imitations. Each serving was presented over wide egg noodles or spätzle, garnished with fresh sour cream and a generous sprinkle of chopped fresh parsley that added color and freshness to the rich, reddish-brown sauce. The technique required patience and attention, slowly simmering the veal in the seasoned sauce until it became fork-tender while maintaining the delicate balance of flavors that made this dish legendary in European restaurants. The food editor at McCall's magazine featured this as the international dish that's becoming an American favorite, praising its accessibility to home cooks who wanted to expand their culinary horizons. Today's European restaurants charge $38 for authentic veal paprikash, but dedicated home cooks could master this technique for under $6 and serve 8 people with old-world authenticity. This exotic dish connects perfectly with our earlier beef burgundy, showing how American kitchens were becoming laboratories for international cuisine. The real sophistication was in respecting traditional techniques while adapting them to American ingredients and cooking methods. Duck à l'orange casserole. What transformed the most elegant restaurant entree into a dish that busy American mothers could master for Sunday dinner? Picture the suburban kitchen of Mrs. Patricia Westbrook in Scarsdale, New York, 1958, where she discovered Betty Crocker's revolutionary approach to bringing French haute cuisine to the American family table. The foundation began with domestic duck pieces, slowly, braised with aromatic vegetables, then finished with a glorious orange sauce that rivaled anything served in Manhattan's finest French restaurants. Mrs. Westbrook told her bridge club, "I never dreamed I could create something this sophisticated in my own kitchen, but Betty's step-by-step instructions made me feel like a professional chef." The magic was in the sauce preparation, reducing fresh orange juice with chicken stock and just enough orange liqueur to create that perfect balance of sweet and savory that made this dish famous in European dining rooms. Mr. Henri Soulet, chef-owner of Le Pavillon restaurant, was quoted in Gourmet magazine as saying, "American home cooks are achieving results that would make many French chefs envious after tasting this dish at a charity dinner where it stole the show." The genius was in Betty's adaptation technique, breaking down intimidating restaurant methods into manageable steps that any dedicated cook could follow with confidence and achieve professional results. The secret was in the timing, allowing the duck to cook slowly until the meat fell off the bone, while the sauce reduced to a glossy perfection that coated each piece beautifully. Each serving was presented with wild rice pilaf and steamed asparagus, creating a complete meal that looked like it belonged in the finest dining establishment rather than a suburban dining room. The technique required planning and patience, but the results were so spectacular that guests would request the recipe and then spend months trying to recreate the same magic in their own kitchens. The food critic at House Beautiful declared it the dish that proves American home cooking has come of age, praising both its sophistication and surprising accessibility. Today's French restaurants charge $60 for duck à l'orange, but accomplished home cooks could create this masterpiece for under $10 and serve 6 people with restaurant-quality elegance. This ambitious dish connects beautifully with our earlier chicken divine, demonstrating how American cooks were fearlessly tackling the most challenging recipes from around the world. The real achievement was in understanding that great cooking is about mastering techniques rather than being intimidated by fancy names or foreign origins. Beef Wellington Individual. How did Betty Crocker transform the most intimidating dish in French cuisine into something American home cooks could master for special occasions? Enter the ambitious kitchen of Mrs. Robert Sterling in Philadelphia's Main Line, 1959, where she attempted what culinary magazines called the ultimate test of a serious cook's abilities. The preparation began with individual beef tenderloin medallions seared to perfection, then wrapped in a delicate mushroom duxelles that had been slowly cooked until all moisture evaporated, creating an intensely flavored paste that would complement rather than compete with the precious beef. Mrs. Sterling confided to her, "All cooking club, The first time I attempted this, I was terrified, but Betty's detailed instructions gave me the confidence to tackle what I thought was impossible. The magic happened during the pastry wrapping, encasing each seasoned beef portion in buttery puff pastry that had been rolled to exactly the right thickness to ensure even cooking and a golden flaky exterior. Chef Auguste Escoffier IV, visiting from Paris, was reportedly amazed when he tasted this dish at a diplomatic dinner, telling his hosts, "You, Americans have taken our most challenging recipe and made it accessible without sacrificing any of the elegance or technique that makes it special." The genius was in Betty's individual portion approach, which eliminated the guesswork of cooking one large Wellington while allowing each guest to receive a perfectly portioned serving that looked like a small work of art. The secret technique involved brushing each pastry-wrapped portion with beaten egg wash and scoring decorative patterns that would become beautifully golden during baking, creating a presentation worthy of the finest restaurant. Each serving was accompanied by a classic béarnaise sauce made from scratch, along with roasted vegetables that had been carefully selected to complement rather than overpower the star of the show. The timing required precision and planning, but the spectacular results made this dish the ultimate choice for anniversary dinners, holiday celebrations, and any occasion that demanded something truly extraordinary. The food editor at Gourmet praised it as proof that American home cooks can master the most challenging techniques in classical cuisine, featuring it on their cover with step-by-step photographs. Today's steakhouses charge $75 for beef Wellington, but dedicated home cooks could create this masterpiece for under $12 per serving and achieve results that would impress the most sophisticated palates. This ambitious creation connects perfectly with our earlier beef burgundy and veal paprikash, showing how American kitchens had become laboratories for the world's finest cuisine. The real triumph was in proving that with proper instruction and dedication, any home cook could master techniques that had previously been reserved for professional chefs. Coq au vin moderne. What made this wine-braised chicken the ultimate symbol of culinary sophistication that every ambitious hostess needed to master? Picture the candlelit dining room of Mrs. Jonathan Fitzgerald in San Francisco's Nob Hill, 1957, where she served this French masterpiece to visiting wine merchants who declared it superior to versions they'd tasted in Burgundy itself. The preparation began with a young chicken cut into perfect pieces and marinated overnight in a bottle of good Burgundy wine with aromatic herbs that infused every bite with complex flavors. Mrs. Fitzgerald later revealed in House and Garden magazine, "The secret is patience and respect for the ingredients, never rushing the process that transforms simple chicken into something magical." The magic happened during the slow braising process, as the wine reduced and concentrated, while the chicken became incredibly tender and absorbed all those deep, rich flavors that made this dish legendary in French restaurants. Monsieur Claude Dubois, visiting from Lyon, was quoted in Gourmet as saying, "Madame has understood the soul of this dish, creating something that honors our traditions while making them accessible to American home cooks." The genius was in Betty Crocker's detailed technique for achieving the perfect balance of wine and chicken stock, creating a sauce that was rich without being heavy, sophisticated without being pretentious. The secret ingredients were pearl onions and mushrooms that had been slowly caramelized until golden, adding sweetness and earthiness that complemented the wine-soaked chicken perfectly. Each serving was presented over buttered noodles or creamy mashed potatoes with the gorgeous burgundy sauce ladled generously over everything and garnished with fresh herbs from the garden. The technique required understanding how wine behaves during long cooking, reducing and concentrating to create depth of flavor rather than the harsh taste that results from improper preparation. The food critic at Bon Appetit declared it the dish that bridges the gap between intimidating French cuisine and approachable American home cooking, praising its authenticity and reliability. Today's French bistros charge $45 for coq au vin, but accomplished home cooks could master this classic for under $8 and serve 6 people with unmatched sophistication. This elegant dish connects beautifully with our earlier duck à l'orange, demonstrating how American cooks were fearlessly embracing wine cookery and classical French techniques. The real artistry was in understanding that great cuisine is about respecting ingredients and mastering time-honored methods rather than relying on shortcuts or substitutions. With the promise of an extraordinary meal, each serving was presented with the elegance of fine dining, the dark, glossy sauce coating tender beef and vegetables that had absorbed all those incredible wine flavors during the long, slow cooking process. The food editor at Gourmet magazine featured this recipe as proof that American home cooks can master the most sophisticated European dishes, praising both its authenticity and accessibility. The genius was in the make-ahead preparation, as this dish actually improved when prepared a day early, allowing all those complex flavors to meld and deepen overnight in the refrigerator. Today's French restaurants charge $42 for similar beef burgundy preparations, but accomplished home cooks could create this masterpiece for under $5 and serve 8 people with restaurant-quality results. This elegant dish connects perfectly with our earlier Swedish meatballs, showing how American cooks were embracing international flavors while maintaining their own unique style. The real sophistication was in understanding that great cooking is about technique and patience, not expensive ingredients or complicated equipment. The beauty of this particular preparation lay in its forgiving nature and spectacular results, making it the perfect introduction to French cooking for ambitious American hostesses. Mrs. Worthington discovered that the quality of the Burgundy wine made all the difference, using a bottle good enough to drink rather than the cooking wine that many recipes suggested, creating a depth of flavor that elevated the entire dish beyond ordinary braised beef. The pearl onions required special attention, blanching them first in boiling water to make peeling effortless, then browning them alongside the mushrooms to develop those caramelized surfaces that added both visual appeal and concentrated flavor to the finished sauce. Betty's revolutionary approach included detailed timing charts that took the guesswork out of braising, specifying exact temperatures and cooking times that ensured consistent results, regardless of the cook's experience level. The browning process was crucial, requiring patience to sear each piece of beef individually rather than crowding the pot, developing those essential fond particles on the bottom that would later dissolve into the braising liquid and create the foundation of the rich sauce. Mrs. Adelaide Montgomery from the Beacon Hill Ladies Society noted that the key to perfect texture was maintaining the braising liquid at a gentle simmer rather than a rolling boil, allowing the tough connective tissues to break down slowly while keeping the meat tender and succulent. The herb bouquet could be customized with seasonal availability, though the classic combination of bay leaves, fresh thyme, and parsley stems provided the authentic French flavor profile that made this dish restaurant-worthy. Many accomplished cooks discovered that adding a square of dark chocolate during the final minutes of cooking deepened the color and added a subtle richness that guests could never quite identify but always complimented. The serving presentation became an art form, with the glossy sauce ladled generously over wide egg noodles or creamy mashed potatoes garnished with fresh, chopped parsley that provided both color contrast and a bright herbal note that balanced the rich wine flavors. What truly set this dish apart was its ability to transform a simple dinner party into a sophisticated culinary experience that guests would remember and request for years to come, proving that French elegance was achievable in any American kitchen with proper instruction and attention to detail.